right. Rock and roll is here to stay. You're listening to Aperture and Shutter Speed on Lone Star Internet Radio, Montgomery County's film and photography radio show.
Yay.
Welcome me, yes, always welcome me. I'm Dick, your host, with my co-host here, trmorephotos.com. TR More Photos, how are we doing?
Doing awesome.
That's great. That's great. I see that you don't have your screen filter, so you're gonna be popping a lot. So if everyone's kind of upset with Tom, you're gonna be even more upset
I don't hear
now.
any pops.
Oh yeah, okay. That's because you backed up. It is 3:01. If you didn't know, we are Aperture and Shutter Speed, and we are here every Wednesday at 3 o'clock to talk photography and film. Today's topic is a little bit of an outside view of nature photography. We kind of get distracted here because we love photography. I know Tom does, and I know I do. I love film too because we also do need to talk about film.
Yes,
because we don't do that enough. But today's topic is basically you want to introduce the topic today.
Photos that pop as opposed to
you mean like what you're doing right now?
Flop.
You're popping on the mic.
Am I popping?
I knew it. But photos that pop as opposed to photos that do not.
That flop.
There's a lot of little things that go into each photo, and we all know how intricate photography is. And what we're going to be talking about in depth is JPEG versus RAW and how we can apply that to nature photography, and then especially with RAW and JPEG also, how we can do post-production with all of our photos and how to take advantage of it and how to understand it all. So JPEG versus RAW is the discussion today, especially when you go out into the field and you want to shoot your nature photography. Because if you guys didn't know, which I hope you did, is we are giving away 4 tickets to Taste Fest coming up May 8th at the Lone Star Convention Center, put on by the Greater Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. If you don't know what Taste Fest is, it's pretty dang cool. Basically, it starts at 5 p.m., goes all the way to 8, and it's just food and beer and wine, and you get 2 complimentary drinks per ticket. It's a $60 value we're giving away, and what you got to do to win is you got to go outside. I know it's awful, or you can go inside depending on what kind of nature you have growing in your house. Mold does count. I will count mold. I will, because that has to do with nature.
Algae,
all the good stuff, all the gross stuff. So you have like tungle fungus or something. Toe fungus. Take a picture of it.
All right.
And I want to see that weird stuff.
We're open.
I want to see it. But go outside. It's another beautiful day in Conroe and Montgomery County. There's so many cool parks around here. Especially I was walking the waterway earlier this week, and night photography there would be really cool.
Where is this again?
In the waterway, over in the woodlands.
Oh, yeah.
Because they light it up. They actually put all these little white Christmas lights up around the trees. And then, of course, you have the lamp posts. And there's certain angles you could set, especially in post-production. You can make that look really scary. And my favorite one was the black reflection from the water. Because the only lights emitting were these little Christmas lights and the lamps. That was the only light. And it was pretty neat. You can take a cool photo. I need to start taking my camera around more. That's for sure. I need to remind myself. Always have that camera on you because I missed that shot, and I kind of take a mental picture of it. So if you could beat me over there, go take a photo of it. It's really cool. It's over on the other side of the Woodlands Pavilion right there. It's where the park right there. I don't know what the park's called, but that's a cool place to take a picture of. But other than that, yeah, we're doing nature photography. So basically, take the best photo that you've taken in nature, and we only take 1 entry per person. Sorry. And so just take the best picture of your toe, and you submit it to our Facebook, Aperture and Shutter Speed, or Lone Star Internet Radio, whatever is more convenient for you. Submit that picture, and then you'll be entered. And we'll announce the winner. I believe we have 2 more weeks. We'll announce the winner on probably the 7th. How about the day before Taste Fest? You want to do the day before, or do you want to do it?
Give them 48 hours.
48 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll announce it on Monday the 5th. So you have until Monday the 5th, and we'll have one more Aperture and Shutter Speed show before it. But that's how you do it. Go to Facebook, look up Lone Star Internet Radio, like us, look up Aperture and Shutter Speed, like us, and submit your nature photo from around Montgomery County. But yeah, how about you? I might even enter. I kind of want tickets.
I think you've already given me tickets.
Yeah, well, it's because you don't tell people that.
Yeah, well, you gave them to me because I'm media, and so I got free tickets.
That's right. You're Mr. Cool.
I'm thrilled.
But yeah, so that's our show today. JPEG versus RAW. How to make a photo pop and not flop.
Yeah.
I think Tom's all about that. I imagine.
Yes.
Yes.
No flopping.
No
Unless
flopping.
you're going on the couch and flopping.
But what's going on this week? What's going on with you?
Shot a wedding. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, Lewis and Debbie there at April Sound, and that was really nice. We had gale force winds, and it was outside, and that was a real problem. It was a real issue. I just popped. Okay, I heard myself.
We're going to fix that over the break.
Okay.
Killing me.
And, if the wind is blowing really hard and you've got just one camera and you're shooting video, and they told me that they were going to have the vows being said, and they did not do that. So it was very difficult to pick up what they were saying. So I had to quickly pull out my second camera and run down there and actually pick up the audio with it going the whole time, because the wind was really intense.
You're in that scenario. How would you react better? Like, say you planned for that. How would you mic them up? Would you actually mic up the area where they were talking, put a boom mic over there, or a shotgun mic pointing that direction?
Yeah, do a shotgun, because
how far is too far when you're doing these videos?
Well, I mean, I have 420 millimeters, so I can get 110 foot away and just get real tight. And you could hear what they were saying at a distance, but you really had to listen closely. So I had my assistant holding the primary camera, because the wind was literally blowing it. If he'd have let it go, it would have gone around in 360. So I just pulled out my 5D Mark III and got a tripod and just ran over to where they were and synchronized their voices with what's going on with the primary camera at a distance, and saved the day, so to say. But they told me the day before that it was going to be mic'd, but they didn't mic it. So with the wind blowing and all, even with a sock, it was just too severe.
So is it unusable?
No, it's usable, but it's also it's very obvious. But, I told them in advance. So that's the advantage of saying, look, guys, calling your client saying the wind is blowing, 40 miles an hour right now, and they're saying it's going to be blowing tomorrow, which is your wedding day. So I'm just telling you in advance that there's going to be an issue with a lot of extraneous noise on your microphone because of the wind issue. And they're like, okay, I'll throw up. And I said, you might want to have the wedding inside. No, we're doing it outside. So, saved my little hiney and got me out of a jam.
Yeah, because that's one thing I would say is for a photographer and a filmographer, you get blamed for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And you have no control. Like, who has control over 40-mile winds?
Yeah, right.
Can't believe that would happen.
That's right. And Moses was not there. So we just had
to
deal with it.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't shoot any photos. I was bad. I missed the blood moon too. I was really pissed off.
Well, you should have taken Lauren over there to that beautiful waterway over there.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool. Yo, Lauren, how's happening?
She's probably listening to. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So, that's our show right now. We're going to take a quick break, listen to some PSAs and spots and all that kind of stuff. When we come back, we're going to talk about JPEG versus RAW. Don't be afraid to call in while we're talking. If we talk a lot of detail, and if sometimes we get it wrong. So I want you to call in, correct me, 936-647-3776. That's 936-647-3776. You're listening to Aperture and Shutter Speed on Lone Star Internet Radio. And don't forget to submit your nature photos to Aperture and Shutter Speed and Lone Star Internet Radio for a chance to win 4 Taste Fest tickets coming up May 8th, put on by the Greater Conroe, Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. We'll be right back here on Aperture and Shutter Speed.
Hi, I'm Joyce with the Corner Pub in downtown Conroe. We're located at the corner of Simonton and North Main, just across the street from the courthouse. The week starts off Monday with open mic hosted by Alan, and Tuesday nights open mic hosted by Jeremy Bankhead. And on Thursday evening, McFarland Jams. There's nightly drink specials available every night, all night. And don't forget, live entertainment every weekend. To see a full list of events, visit our website at thecornerpubinconroe.com. So come join us at the Corner Pub, where the deli is open late.
Get your taste buds ready for Taste Fest 2014 presented by H-E-B. This year, Taste Fest will be on May 8th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Lone Star Convention and Expo Center, featuring local food and beverage vendors and local restaurants that are members of the Greater Conroe Lake Conroe Area Chamber of Commerce. We've partnered with the Montgomery County Food Bank, so bring in your canned food items to be entered into our raffle. Tickets are $15 for adults and $5 for children. To purchase tickets, visit www.conroe.org or your local H-E-B Conroe Market. See you out on May 8th at the Lone Star Convention Center for Taste Fest.
Have you ever wandered around a parking lot trying to look like you actually know where you parked? Then you'll love the Mark and Cindy Show. If buying toilet paper with aloe vera is the most exciting thing you're going to do today, then you'll love the Mark and Cindy Show. Even if you haven't tweeted, you'll still love the Mark and Cindy Show.
How about twerking?
Ew, that was one step over the line, Mark.
Well, you said toilet paper.
Look, we want listeners to tune in to the Mark and Cindy Show at 10 o'clock every weekday morning here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
The Mark and Cindy Show, it's like visiting with your best friends for coffee, except we will never stiff you with a check.
And one of us always knows what she's talking about.
Well, okay, but it's still called the Mark and Cindy Show. You know that.
We'll see. The Mark and Cindy Show. Tune in to Lone Star Radio every weekday morning at 10 o'clock.
It's better to burn out than it is to rust. He is gone, but he's not forgotten.
You are listening to IR Lone Star Radio. This is Aperture and Shutter Speed. My name is Tom Moore, trmorephotos.com, with my partner over here, Mr. Dick Schissler.
Hey.
Yep. And we want to talk about JPEG versus RAW. First of all, if you are shooting in JPEG, the first thing you need to do when you get your camera out is change it to RAW. And there's a good reason for that. If you're shooting sports, in JPEG's pretty cool because it compresses the files and your processor will not be overrun with data and put a busy sign on your screen shutting you down. But if you can possibly shoot in RAW, do so. Looking at a histogram and the gapping on your histogram, say you take a photograph and that photo is flat or lacks color or ping or zip or however you want to describe it. So your histogram is going to kind of look like a mountain, and if it's flat, it's going to be squashed on the left and right. So as you add saturation, it's going to expand. If you're shooting in RAW, you can add saturation without losing your oranges and your yellows. Say, for instance, your photograph, it has a lot of orange and yellow. It has the sun going down, and you shot in you shot in a JPEG, and you go in post-production and you're manipulating the saturation with your slider. As you do so, and looking at in your histogram, that's with Photoshop and with Aperture, you'll see the histogram there. Well, with a JPEG, that histogram is going to show the gapping, and if it's yellow going to yellow, orange, orange, then finally to orange, it's actually going to remove the gradations of the orange and yellow orange, and it's just going to have a abrupt yellow orange, and you're not going to have this smooth transition going from yellow to orange. And when you try to go back to your original setting that you got excited about and changed a bunch of the settings through your sliders, you will not be able to find that original form unless you're just a real extravagantly smart, that's poor verbiage there, but you're just really smart with colors, and you can figure out how to do that, and I can't do that. So that's a reason for using the raw file. And also, as Dick was saying, we were saying during the break, is that no printer is going to be able to handle a file as big as a raw file. They're just massive. So everything, when you go to print, must be in a JPEG. I don't know if any printers will accept anything but a JPEG. So that's just a tip there about JPEG versus RAW.
Well, I mean, that's not the whole story.
Well, go ahead and finish it.
Well, it's for me, I always use JPEG still. I never use RAW.
See there, he's already going against the grain.
So
already going against the grain.
And it's not like I'm making a horrible decision. It's more of the space on my memory card. And also, you have to remember how big these RAW files are. RAW files tend to be 6 to 10 times bigger than a JPEG file.
At least.
So if you don't have a 32 gig card, and the disadvantage of having a large card is if you lose that card, you lose all your files.
You're stealing my data.
I'm just letting you know. I'm going with your logic.
It's a good idea that when you go out on the field, instead of using a 32 gig card, to have multiple cards like a 4s or 6s or 4s or 8s, and that way if you lose some data, you actually lose a card or the card fails, and they do fail.
Yeah, but with a 4 gig card and you're shooting with the new Canon 5D at RAW large file, you can probably only fit 100 and so far.
Maybe that many.
And if you're shooting sports, that's not going to cut it.
And if you're shooting 8 frames a second, yep.
And if you're not, and if you don't have a memory card that has a high write speed, I mean, you're looking at stuff that you need a write speed at least 95 megabytes a second up to 125 megabytes a second. You need those cards.
And you need a card that's classed at 10, a real fast card, so you have good high quality and it processes quickly.
Yes. But
very important.
Me being the cheapo, I can't afford all those nice things. So that's the difference. That's why I shoot JPEG. And especially for the end product, what you're trying to do, because that's really what the show's all about, is informing listeners when you're trying to shoot, you're trying to get your end product, especially if you want it to win 4 tickets to Taste Fest. You got to get that right shot at the very end. And with RAW, it opens up the manipulation field. It's really cool. I really do encourage, if you've never done it before, go shoot it, because what it allows you to do, and probably the most interesting deal, is the white point or the whites on RAW files. You can set it at any level. So like the levels and curves, full manipulation of what's going on in that photo
in a RAW file.
And it's crazy the drastic difference it allows you to do. And then probably the second nicest feature of it is it allows you to see the biggest difference, and this is also why they're so big, is because JPEGs are usually compressed to an 8-bit style, 8-bit grid of colors, so 256 shades. If you remember back in the day when they had like CRT monitors and things like that, you had to set the graphics card. If you're I know this because I played computer games. You had to set the different gammas on your monitor to 256, 128, and I think there was like even a 64. And then there was like just different shades of colors because they could only process that many shades of colors. So to give you an idea, JPEG uses 8-bit, which is 256 shades of colors. And the RAW files use 4,000 to 16,000 shades of colors.
Right.
So it gives you, and especially in a post-editing program, you have so many options to manipulate those different shades. And it's so cool. Because one thing a lot of people don't know about how your camera works is basically you take a grid and you take megabytes. Megabytes is basically how many dots there are per inch on this grid. And the higher the megabytes, the more little dots there are. Well, basically the JPEG, when you take a photo, the JPEG is a type of conversion. If you don't know what JPEG is, it's actually kind of interesting where the history of Joint Photographic Expert Group. Basically, that's JPEG. And basically it's a group of people who made the compression. They made the code to compress your photo. And that's but basically what it does is you have this grid, you have these megapixels, and JPEG compresses it and fills those little dots the best it can. So if you have a large JPEG, it puts more information on that grid. The lower the compressed JPEG, the less information that goes into it. So to give you an idea, so say half of it is black, half of it is white. and you're using a large format, so you can actually see more detail between the white and the black. You can see the line. But if you use a lower quality, it kind of merges together because it can't figure out where the actual black needs to go and where the black ends and where the white begins. It can't do that because it's too big for it to fill. So keep that in mind when you're shooting, because when you're printing out stuff, that's what's going to print. So if you're printing in a JPEG that's been downgraded, pixelated, it won't be able to compensate what the definite colors are. And that's probably the best example I can give you using RAW that shows you the natural colors is shoot indoors with RAW. To use horrible lighting, and you'll really get to see what you can do with a RAW file. Because with JPEG, the advantage of JPEG is it's quick and it's responsive and it fills in the gap, missing information. So like I said, you have this grid and you take a picture. Well, what happens in RAW, there's so much data, it literally fills in every bit of color. But with JPEG, it compensates. It doesn't know the difference between the white and the black, so it just fills in what it thinks it is. And sometimes you can get a better image quicker that way, especially if you're shooting. In the scenario I was shooting basketball inside with horrible lighting. I didn't have a flashlight. I had fluorescent lights, and I was getting too much gray from using RAW. There just weren't pretty colors. It looked gross. It looked like zombies and flat, because that's what really was being seen. But with a JPEG, it added a little bounce to it, a little bit more illumination, because it couldn't figure out the difference between the dark areas and the light areas through the fluorescent light. So it created this more glowy yellow because it couldn't figure it out. And I like that. The shot looked a little better. And that to me was really funny, because I was like, oh, everyone shoots in RAW, don't they, Tom?
Yeah, they do. So if you're shooting outside, do honor, if it's a full sun day, no clouds, go to your sun icon. Use that. It might not look good in your screen on the back of your camera, but when you take it in post-production, because it's so bright outside, your eye cannot really detect what it's seeing. And then if it's a cloudy day, then choose the cloudy icon, and it will fill in and add the colors that you're losing, like your oranges and your yellows, instead of having just this blue haze over all of your photos and just looking flat. So do that. Don't use auto white balance outside. Use your sun icon, use your shade icon, and just go accordingly.
Yeah, Tom, we're trying to take a break here. Jeez.
I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop.
Awesome. You're listening to Aperture and Shutter Speed. It is 3:24. We're going to take our mid-show break. We're here every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. If you haven't already, submit your best nature photo to Aperture and Shutter Speed on Facebook, or look up Lone Star Internet Radio. Send it over to me at dick@irlonestar.com to enter to win 4 tickets to Taste Fest coming up May 8th. That's a $60 value. It includes 2 beverages per ticket. If you're over the age of 21, of course. Like I said, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about post-editing with these RAW and with these JPEGs, and especially my beef with RAW, because I like RAW, but I also don't want to deal with it.
And also 2 filters that you need. There's only really 2.
Oh, okay. That's
really
good.
just 2.
Just throw that in there.
Yeah.
All right, wild card. But you're listening to Aperture and Shutter Speed. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Dennis Nelson, inviting you to come with me through the doorway of imagination and into the theater of the mind. The Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour presents a play every Saturday night at 7 p.m. on Lone Star Internet Radio. Be it drama or comedy, thriller or love story, every exciting episode is carefully chosen straight from the golden age of radio and performed live by talented actors, musicians, and sound effects crew. Every sound you hear will be 100% live and homemade. Anything can happen. So join us, please, every Saturday night at 7 p.m. for the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
Hey everybody, it's the City of Conroe Kids Fest on Saturday, April 26th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in downtown Conroe. This is a free family fun event. We'll have 9 themed villages with really cool activities for kids. We'll have remote control race cars, a giant slide, petting zoo, and a splash zone. Over 100 vendors will be offering fun activities and neat things to buy and eat. 2 stages will provide a full day of fun entertainment. At 8 p.m., the animated movie Planes will be featured in our Movie in the Park. It's Kids Fest, Saturday, April 26th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more information, call 936-522-3900 or go online at cityofconroe.org.
This is Rick Schissler, the host of the Weekly Business Hour. Have you ever thought about maybe, possibly, even considering LASIK? Then call my friends at Man Eye Institute, 1-800-MY-VISION, and talk to them about a free LASIK consultation. The thing about Man Eye Institute is they want their patients to be happy. That's their number one goal. Whether you decide to have LASIK, if you decide to have another procedure, if you decide to wait, whatever it is, the folks at Man Eye Institute want you to be happy and informed and comfortable with your decision. That's why I never hesitate to recommend a free LASIK consultation for anyone who's even thinking about maybe getting LASIK. 1-800-MY-VISION is the Man Eye Institute number because you get to walk through the process, have a thorough eye exam, and have all your questions answered. Before you leave Man Eye, you'll know exactly what your options are and you can make the right decision for you. So don't hesitate. Call Man Eye Institute now for a free LASIK consultation at one of their 9 Houston and Austin area offices, including right here in the Woodlands. 1-800-MY-VISION. That's 1-800-698-4746. Discover more right now when you visit maneye.com about the benefits of LASIK eye surgery.
You're listening to IR Lone Star Radio with this Aperture and Shutter Speed. I'm Tom Moore, TR Moore Photos. That's it. Or at Shutter Speed Aperture.
Whichever.
And that's Dick Schissler being a smart guy over there.
But yeah, welcome back. We're talking about RAW and JPEG and the different types of files. I know we kind of talk a lot about digital photography. One day we have to do film. We really do.
Yeah.
And but since we're weekly, we always kind of like talk about what the hot topic is, and the hot topic is JPEG and RAW. A lot more cameras are being available, lower end cameras, DSLRs are being available to the public, and a lot of people don't know what options they have with these cool cameras. I guess they came out with a 70D recently, or they announced it at least, and that, I mean, it's so cool to shoot. It's fun to shoot with RAW. It really is. And I got some funny stories to talk about that.
Did you buy 70D?
No.
Oh.
No. I like my 20D.
Yeah.
That's my baby.
Yeah. Oh, and just before he gets off on one of his next tirades, if you take a 100 ISO photo and then take a 1600 ISO photo, shot ISO 1600, if you look at them by themselves, the 100 is not going to necessarily look any better than the 1600, but if you can draw a line and put them together or actually have them processed, you're definitely going to see more grain in the 1600 as opposed to the 100. And also you're going to lose just a lot of quality and saturation. So, and one other quick thing before you get going, if you want some stock photos, if you're needing stock photos for whatever, you can go to 123rf.com, and they have thousands of stock photos, and for $20 you get 5 points per $5, and you can get 5-6 photos, and they're yours, and you don't have to worry about copyright or anything like that. So go ahead, Dick. You're on.
Well, I mean, I'm not up to bat, but what I would like to talk about too, when you take these photos, always know that RAW is always going to be bigger. So make sure you have the space and you have the right speed, because one thing people don't think about is, since these files are 6 to 10 size bigger than a regular JPEG, if your card speed, the write speed basically can't keep up with the photos you're taking, it's going to lose that photo. Your camera will also overheat.
Yeah.
I know back in the day that's happened to me many times when I was shooting sports, and I was wondering why this was happening. And I went to people and I got on the internet because that's what I usually do. And basically what it was is my card's write speed wasn't fast enough. It couldn't keep up with the information being processed because these files were so large. So I encourage everyone, probably the best website we always talk about is Adorama, but they have a great selection. And what you're looking for, it's weird because the same thing with USB sticks and stuff like that. You see the same gigabyte size, but you see a significant increase in price. And that's because of write speed. So to give you an idea, I'm looking at two cards right now. They're both 32 gigabyte cards, one made by SanDisk and one made by Sony. 32 gigabytes. The Sony one is $18.95, but the SanDisk is $49.95.
It's just faster.
And it's just so much faster. And to give you an idea, the SanDisk is 95 megabytes per second. And what's really great about these other ones, they don't tell you. They won't tell you how fast. And keep an eye out for that, because a lot of people, if you go to like Amazon and you look up these cards, you'll find cards that are made in China. They look like a better deal, but they don't tell you what the write speed is. And there's a reason, because it's not even half. It's
Right.
1/4 typically, or most of the time. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing these cards, because if you're going to be shooting in RAW and you know you're going to be shooting in RAW, you need to make sure you have a card that can keep up. So that even translates into your printing. Because when you're ready to print, you have to compress a RAW file to a JPEG. Most printers will not accept RAW files. Actually, all printers pretty much will not accept RAW files.
Nobody does.
And one thing that I learned is when I got my first version of Photoshop, I don't know how many years ago. Basically, the way Photoshop works, different from other file readers, because basically RAW is a type of file, and only certain types of file imaging programs will interact with RAW. So keep that in mind. So you have to know where you're going to put it. Like if you open it up in Windows Explorer, you couldn't even open it up. You really couldn't. Or in the Finder in OS X, you literally couldn't open up the file, because it'd be like, what is this? So when you do it in Photoshop, what Photoshop likes to do, and we kind of forgot to say this about RAW, is it's basically the digital negative. That's the new term for RAW. It's digital negative, DNG, digital negative. And what Photoshop does is it creates a copy, because they treats it like the original. So you always have your original RAW file untouched,
and then you have a JPEG right
under
it.
And then right under it, basically. So it almost creates double files.
Right,
So
and it takes up a lot of space.
So if you've taken 1,000 photos, you have 2,000 photos right then and there. Because that's one of the biggest deals I learned about it, because I took 1,000 photos and I was transferring over, and my computer was going crazy.
2,000 files.
And it was basically converting 2,000 files, and then it stored it. And I was like, holy crud, my photo shoot this weekend, it took over 20 gigs. And I was like, oh man, that's not going to work out for me in the end, because I don't throw away anything.
Right.
And now I have to throw away stuff.
Pack rat.
But so keep that in mind too, is when you're transferring your files, make sure you have the space for it. And on top of that, make sure you have a program that can even open it, because a lot of people don't realize that. And I was lucky enough to have Photoshop at the time. But I'm pretty sure right now you can get lower end programs, which Photoshop, it's $50 a month. Let's get real, and you get all of their products,
and you can cancel that at any time.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest deal. I would tell her, besides Amazon Prime, any digital deal, that's what I would tell people. So you can get the entire Adobe collection for $50 a month. I mean, that's phenomenal. But yeah, it's Photoshop, and you use Aperture, and Aperture actually doesn't recreate the file. It actually edits the actual RAW.
Right, and I love that, because I don't have all this extraneous information. I shoot in RAW, get RAW, I process RAW, then I, exit it to my desktop. Of course, it has to be processed into JPEG, and I have multiple sizes of JPEGs, from the customer size to the original size to 50% to various sizes. I can go to a TIFF, which is a lot of magazines want a TIFF, because it does not compress like a JPEG
that is something that a lot of people are going to learn. It's one of the most fun things about photography and dealing with this. Like the whole world, you don't really know how many steps there are to take to get that photo where you're seeing it. And a lot of the times with people who shoot with RAW, because you basically have the first step done. Like you can convert it to a JPEG, you can convert it to a GIF, you can convert it to a PNG file, and you have a lot more flexibility opposed to just having a JPEG.
And keep in mind, guys, that if you have a photo that you want to send to your printer, you make sure you know what they need, because if you just send over anything you think it needs to be, they're going to say, I can't use this, so you have to start the process all over again. They're going to have it in JPEG. And for instance, if you have a magazine that wants to print some of your stuff, they're probably going to only want in a very large format. If it looks good on your screen, that does not necessarily mean that if you send it to a printer that it's going to match what you see on your screen when you get the printed version of your business cards, or of if you do a flyer or whatever it is you're doing. So make sure you talk to them first, because you don't want blurry photographs. And we do also want to talk a little bit about filters for your camera.
Well, we're not done here. We're not done.
Okay, we'll wait on that.
Because we had to talk about printing.
Okay, printing, that's true.
We have to. I want to share you my story about doing Santa Claus pictures and me not realizing how large JPEGs
Santa
print.
Baby.
So one thing you have to also consider when you're printing these files and you're compressing them down to JPEG is where they're going. So to give you an idea, there's typically two places these go. To the internet and also to a printer to print them out.
And you'll have much more fun on the internet than you do with a printer, because it's so much less hassle.
And it's cheaper. But one thing you have to realize when you're sending it to a printer, especially if you have a home printer, the highest quality photo you convert it down to, because you're always converting down to RAW. We're using RAW as an example. That's the starting
converting
point.
Down to JPEG.
You're converting down to, or you can print other things too. But what you have to remember, the higher quality, the more ink your printer's going to take. And what's really funny is a lot of people don't realize this about their printers is make sure to know what your DPI is on your
dots per
printer.
Square inch.
And the reason being is some older printers. I think today I haven't looked at a printer since like 2008, but they're probably different. But basically, back in the day, there were so many. The technology of JPEG was going so high, so fast, the printers couldn't keep up. So to print a large file compared to a medium file, there really wasn't a difference in the end game of the photo. And basically, so make sure whoever's printing them. And a lot of people, I would always tell people, just go send it to Shutterfly or send it to some other company, because they have it down to where it's going to cost the same, and you don't have the hassle. But my story, what was really funny to me is these when I was in high school, they asked me to shoot the Santa pictures at the annual, the Christmas, what is it called, like North Pole, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So me being me, I had my camera, and I'm like, oh, cool, I get to print out and do all this cool stuff. So I'm shooting the entire time, and I never thought about how big my files were. And I always shot in large file format, JPEG format. And so I'm printing these pictures out for these families, and it's taking forever. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, it's taking me like 10 to 14 minutes.
You had a bunch of angry customers.
Oh, yeah. Extremely pissed off at me. And I'm sitting there going, and I was a volunteer, so I was kind of like, oh, I'm sorry. Like,
I'm a volunteer. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I literally didn't know what I was doing and why it took so long. And I was like, well, and I go,
we're still going to hit you with a tomato.
Yeah. Well, it got to the point where there was, I was troubleshooting because people still wanted me to take their picture. Mm-hmm. And this was at a time when email really wasn't on people's minds. It was really strange. I was like, I can just email it to you. And I had like a notepad. I was like, throw down your email and I'll email it to you.
And then what's that?
And it's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I can host it and you can download it. Well, what do you mean you can download it? And this is way before Facebook, way before any of that stuff. And I was like, here, don't worry. Just write down your email. Well, I don't have an email address. Well, we'll print one out for you then. And you got to wait for 20 minutes for it, or even more, because this is per photo. So you can imagine there's probably like 100 plus kids there taking these photos. Oh man, I was in so much trouble. And I'm sitting there freaking out because I'm taking photos. I continue because every photo I was taking, I was like, there's 20 minutes, there's 20 minutes, there's 20 minutes. And I'm going, all right, I got to figure this out while in the middle of all this. And finally it hit me about 3/4 of the way through the photo shoot that the file I was printing was gigantic, and all I did, and then we're literally printing these tiny carts, like it was nothing. And I go, okay, boop boop, change it to the smallest JPEG. It was just spitting them out, and I'm like, there we go, problem solved. And they didn't care. You couldn't really tell the difference because they don't care. And that's when I learned the difference about that. And that also goes for putting them on the website, because the higher quality photo, the longer whoever's accessing your website, it's going to take to download.
Right.
But today's internet speed's way ahead of whatever largest file you can put up there. So, I mean, to give you the greatest example to test it out, go to Google image search, type in waterfall, and then set your search tool to 4,000 by 4,000 up, and see how long it takes to download that photo. Like, do a full screen of it, and that kind of gives you an idea how long it takes to download that high quality of an image. And I remember sending a poster I made that was completely vectored, so you could be at any size. And I accidentally made it. I think when I typed it in, I was doing feet instead of inches. So I did it like, I don't know what it was. It was like 8 feet by 14. I don't know what. It was huge. I didn't even know it. And I just kind of go to the printer. I'm like, hey, man, you mind printing this? He's like, yeah, man. And then he takes it up. And then he was like, hey, man, this is going to take a while. I'm like, why is it going to take so long? It took about 8 minutes to open up the file, because their computers, I mean, my computer's I love my computer, but their computers are old, because, I mean, you're going to printers. But always keep that in mind about the file size. It really does. It affects the whole process of trying to get that in shot.
And keep in mind, too, that your eye can only perceive so many dots per square inch. So if you go up to 600 dpi, it's not necessarily going to make any difference in the actual viewing of the photograph. At 72, sure. So you're going to want to, take it up. Say 300, 350 is as big as it needs to get, because the eye's not going to be able to detect it anyway. So can I quickly say something about filters?
Oh, we can do it when we come back.
Come back. Okay.
Yeah. So you're listening to Aperture and Shutter Speed. Coming up next is Tom and his filters.
Yep.
He likes to look pretty.
It's not going to take long.
And I want to remind everyone, you're listening to Aperture and Shutter Speed. We're here every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. We're going to take a quick break. Please submit your nature photos to our Facebook at Lone Star Internet Radio or Aperture and Shutter Speed to win a chance to win for Taste Fest tickets. I think that's going to be cool. I think people will want to win that. I mean, I hope they
I'm looking forward to it.
Because I'm going to be there.
I'm going to get my camera.
And actually, what you can do, let's do this right now. You can get on the air with us.
Oh, yes, I'd love to do that.
That's definitely
I'm going to bring my
happen.
camera and put it on my jib and just float it around.
Did you get that checked? You probably didn't even get that checked. We got to take a break. We're taking a break.
I'll talk to him. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, you can't just bring... Hey, man, you can't just bring a jib to a party and not tell them. So, it's at 3:43. You're listening to Aperture and Shutter Speed. We'll be right back.
My name is Cheryl Dudzik, and I'm the Director of Community Development for Montgomery County Women's Center. Montgomery County Women's Center supports victims of family violence and sexual assault in Montgomery County and surrounding areas. I'd like to personally invite you to make plans now to join us at the Wild West Wine Fest on Thursday, May 1st from 6 to 9 p.m. at Macy's Furniture Gallery at the Woodlands Mall. We are proud to partner with Macy's Furniture Gallery for the 13th year for this popular event, which is our major fundraiser benefiting the Montgomery County Women's Center. This fun evening includes samples of signature dishes from local restaurants, along with fine wine tastings provided by Genuine Tasting Room. Tickets are $100. Sponsorships are still available. For more information, visit winefesttx.org or call 936-441-4044.
Heaven's Army of Resources and Recreation Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization featuring a 10,000 square foot building located at 19325 FM 1485 West, New Caney, Texas. At Heaven's Army, we offer over 26 different services free for all ages, from karate, dance, drug and alcohol classes, anger management, parenting, food and clothing pantries, to just name a few. We are supported solely by volunteers and private donations. Our main mission is to glorify God in all that we do. At Heaven's Army, we strive to be a hand up, not a handout. Come check us out at 19325 FM 1485 West, New Caney, Texas, or call for more information at 281-689-5864. You may also learn more about Heaven's Army by visiting our website at heavensarmyofresources.com.
Into the black.
You're listening to IR Lone Star Internet Radio. I'm Tom Moore. This is with TR Moore Photos and Dick Schissler. And we're going to be talking about filters. Long time ago, you might need 4 or 5 different filters. One for if you want to enhance the blues, or if an orange filter or a green filter. But today, with all the post-production options, really there's only 2 filters, Dick, that you need. You know what they are? Only 2.
Yeah, easy. Polarize and UV.
Yeah, the polarizer
Easy.
and the UV filter. And what do
I win? Hey, I want to win something.
You're going to get a free ticket to Taste Fest. Anyway, so what that polarizer is going to do, it's going to bring the dark blues out in the sky. It's going to cut through the haze, so you get more clarity there. It's going to remove reflections. So if you're shooting through a window, it will really help restrict that. And it will definitely increase your saturation. So those are all very important. And then, of course, the UV filter is it's going to help with the UV rays, but also it is going to protect your very expensive lens, because once it's scratched, baby, it's scratched. So you never want that to happen. Never want a scratched lens. Right? Is that right, Dick?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I would have that for every type of camera you have. Always get a UV.
Yeah, UV.
If you don't have a UV, then people are going to be judging you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And also the polarizer, the reason they're so expensive if you get a good one is because actually I just
there's different
the
types.
camera.
There's different types, right?
Yeah. If you get a high dollar one, say $150 or so, and it's a 77 millimeter. The reason it's so expensive is because there is actually 8 lenses inside that one lens, and you can turn and manipulate that lens and get different intensities of the polarizer. And also keep in mind, don't shoot directly into the sun. Shoot, and I've said this before, with the sun to your back, and or put the sun on your shoulder. Not literally, because it's just too big. But like your right shoulder if you're left-handed, and just point your shoulder at the sun and shoot that way, but never directly into the sun, because unless you really know what you're doing, you can damage your lens, because that's a very or damage your sensor.
Oh yeah,
because it can blow it up. Just blow it up.
I mean, what I would encourage people to do is, like, just to give you an example, get a filter set. Another filter that a lot of people have, there's 2. Usually you get the UV and you get the circular polarizer, and or polarizer. With the circular polarizer actually has a cool little feature on it. And what it does is you're holding imagine holding your lens, and you have your lens where your filter is at the very end, and then there's a little tiny slit that you can
move
turn
it around. Yeah.
So it kind of gives you some manipulation of where the light's bending coming into the lens. 2 other filters that are kind of common. There's a warming filter, and there's also a neutral density filter. These filters, the neutral density filters, are usually used for inside shooting with fluorescent lights and things like that, because if you notice, if you're shooting inside, you get a lot of blues, and what this does is neutralize the blues and brings out the white, the natural white on the skin. And those are very, very useful when shooting in, like, I know this is going to sound weird, but like in a subway, or if you're going to be shooting in an elevator or any type of enclosed space, because when you have those fluorescent lights bouncing off of everything.
That's all you've got is fluorescent.
It's all you got, and it's bouncing off stuff. It looks awful on certain photos, and this just kind of neutralizes it. And then also there's the warming filter. The warming filter I like just when you're bored and you want to kind of change things up. I know when you're shooting nature photography, it's always kind of cool to bring that out, especially if there's like a low sunset and a high sunset, because the more light, the more it's going to tone down that really bright yellows and oranges while it's sun setting. But when it gets too dark, it's not very useful at all.
Right.
But especially with the polarizing filter. The polarizing filter really works well when there's blues, especially at the beach. That's when you get those really cool beach shots, is when you're using the polarizer filter. But yeah, you should always check those out. What's nice is they're inexpensive, and it changes the way you shoot photography. So you got...
Are you talking about the polarizers?
Well, I'm just talking about sets. Like you can spend up to $80 to $100 per... probably even more per filter, but I know, like, I'm looking at Adorama right now, and you can get a 3-filter set for around $40. A good 3-filter set.
Does that include a polarizer?
That's a circular polarizer.
Is that a 50? What is that?
Well, you can find them what fits your millimeter of your lens.
It's not a 70.
No, there's different ones. So you can get 50. I mean, they're all over it. And you can go. There's different brands. I like to use Tiffin, because that's just a brand who I use. It's not because they treated me really well or anything like that. And one thing I do like about it is the pouch they give you, because it's very convenient. It reminds me of a wallet. So and then you get 3 filters, things like that, like neutral density, circular polarizer, a warming, or it's really up to what you want. And there's only $30, $20, and definitely get the UV protected one on all your lenses. So say you have 3 lenses, don't just have one UV protective filter.
Get them all
and just put it on one of them at a time. Get 3 of them. Go ahead and get 3 of them.
Filters one on top of another.
Yeah, but you should always have the UV filter. That's like camera 101,
right?
When you own that kind of
and
stuff.
Keep in mind too, if you put a polarizer on your camera, that you're going to lose stops. So, yeah. So if you're at a 4, you're going to have to, well, if you can go lower. So you're going to lose, I don't know, maybe as many as 2 stops. And so it's going to really make it a lot darker. So keep that in mind. You go inside, you're going to have to take that polarizer off. You don't need it anyway. So if you're shooting in a snow environment, or you just want to make the sky pop more and want to save time in post-production, then throw that polarizer on there, and there you go. Yeah.
So that's going to be wrapping up today's show. I'm so sorry, everybody. We have to let Tom be quiet just for a little bit. But I do want to encourage everyone to send their photos our way for nature. Anything with nature. We will take a look at it, and you can have a chance to win 4 tickets to Taste Fest. All you got to do is go to Lone Star Internet Radio on Facebook, submit your photo, and we'll enter it in on the Aperture and Shutter Speed Taste Fest contest for nature photography. Next week, we have a kind of a cool deal. I'm hopefully going to get someone from the Parks and Rec Smart. They have Kids Fest this weekend, so that was kind of they had to focus on that. And then we can talk about where to go in the Montgomery County area. I wouldn't mind you guys writing up on our Facebook wall where any cool areas you found, and we're going to share the last week of nature photography and really push it out, because when summer's coming and you have that early when the time changes, because you have a late sunset, you can really get some cool photos, and longer days mean better photos for nature.
Keep in mind, you only have about 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours as dusk comes around to get some photos, so take advantage of that time.
Definitely. But you're listening to Lone Star Internet Radio with Aperture and Shutter Speed. We're here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Like us on Facebook, look up Aperture and Shutter Speed, and we'll see you next week where we're closing out nature photography. We'll see you.
Adios.
Hey everyone, this is Tina, your host from Retro Saturdays. I wanted to invite you to visit the Lone Star Studios here in downtown Conroe, Texas. We're all volunteers here, and we need your help in serving the Montgomery County area. Radio media is a fun field to be in. Lone Star Internet Radio serves Montgomery County with news, current events, local programming, and of course, music. If you are interested in volunteering and sharing your talents in media, go to irlonestar.com and let us hear from you. Lone Star Internet Radio, serving Montgomery County from the heart of downtown Conroe.